I once was lost, but now I'm found. Blind, but now I see. And now I'm a believer. I thought love was only true in fairy tales, meant for someone else and not for me. Love was out to get me, that's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. But then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer, not a trace of doubt in my mind. Now that was actually a song by a band called the Monkees back in the day, but some of you probably really know it from that movie, Shrek. But what those song lyrics are essentially saying is that it is an incredible thing when you finally see something for yourself, to have your outlook overhauled because now you've seen, to have your thoughts transformed because now you've seen, to have your mindset amended and your perceptions shifted, your assumptions altered, your viewpoint vacated and your doubts deleted because now you've seen. It's like that old saying goes, a man with experience is never at the mercy of a man with an opinion. Basically, you can't influence me once I've seen. You can't move me once I've seen. You can't dissuade nor persuade me once I've seen. No, you can't coerce once I'm convinced, convicted, and compelled. Basically, you can't tell me nothing now that my heart is fixed. My mind is made up. No room, no vacancy. I'm all filled up. You can't sway me. Not now that I'm sold out. Not now that I've seen for myself. Not now that I'm a believer. That's why an experience always outweighs an argument. It's why an encounter far surpasses a story, and why a testimony transcends the telling of a tale. Basically, it's always better to know that you know for yourself. Seeing is a very powerful thing. It's why some people go as far as to say that seeing is believing. Sight is one of the major senses tied to experience, because seeing is worth 1,000 words. Like I could tell you that the historic Biltmore House in the rolling mountains of Asheville, North Carolina is epically beautiful. Or I could just show you. I could tell you that $1 million classic Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing is perhaps the most stunningly beautiful car ever made. Or I could just show you. I could tell you that the Grand Canyon is awe-inspiring and breathtakingly beautiful. Or I could just show you. And even better than showing you, how much better would it be to go see, to go experience those things for yourself? Because it's one thing to say I heard about it. It's one thing to say someone told me about it. It's one thing to say I read about it, but there's nothing quite like being a first-hand witness, to be able to walk away saying I saw it for myself, and now I'm a believer, not a trace of doubt in my mind. That's why David says in Psalm 27:13, I had fainted unless I had believed to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. That's why David says in Psalm 34:8, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who hopes in him. That's why in John 20, when the other disciples told Thomas that they had seen the risen Lord Jesus, he didn't believe until he saw for himself. He said in John 20:25, unless I see the nail marks in his hand and put my finger where the nails were and put my hand into his side, I will not believe. But then a week later, Jesus appeared to them with Thomas there this time. And Jesus says to him in verse 27, "Put your finger here. See my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." Leading old doubting Thomas to basically say in verse 28, "Now I'm a believer." But then Jesus says to him in John 20:29, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." Now there, Jesus is talking about people like you and me who do not have the same pleasure of the disciples to walk and talk with Jesus face to face. But Jesus says we are still blessed because we haven't physically seen and yet we still believe. But don't get me wrong, just because we haven't seen his face doesn't mean we haven't seen his hand moving in our lives. It doesn't mean I haven't seen him show up and show out. It doesn't mean I haven't seen him slay some giants for me. It doesn't mean I haven't seen him part some Red Seas in my life. It doesn't mean I haven't seen him shut some lion and some lying mouths. It doesn't mean I haven't seen him be a very present help in the time of trouble. It doesn't mean I haven't seen him come to my rescue over and over again. Nah, it doesn't mean that at all, because I've seen him be better than good to me. I've seen his goodness and mercy following me. I've seen him be there for me. I've seen him never leave me nor forsake me. I've seen him never give up on me. I've seen him stick closer than a brother. So many times, too many times, I've seen him be exactly who he says he is. And that's why now I'm a believer, just like the formerly blind man in our text. Here in John 9, we find that Jesus and his disciples were journeying about on the Sabbath day when they come across this blind man that Jesus decides to heal, so that verse 7 says, the man went home seeing, which caused all of his neighbors who were used to seeing him sitting and begging and not standing and seeing want to know how in the world did this happen. So the man tells them in verse 11, the man they called Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. He told me to go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed, and then I could see. So upon hearing about this amazing and previously unheard of miracle, they brought the man to the religious leaders of the day, known as the Pharisees, who tried to paint Jesus out as a sinner just because he healed the man on the Sabbath day. So they brought the man in to give an account of what had happened, but only to try and discount his testimony. They tried to say that maybe he wasn't even really blind in the first place. So they decided to call in his parents to confirm it. And his parents were like, yes, he is our son. And yes, he was born blind, but he is old enough to speak for himself. So y'all really need to ask him what happened. In our text verses 24 to 25 say, a second time they summoned the man who had been blind. Give glory to God by telling the truth, they said. We know this man, Jesus, is a sinner. He replied, whether he is a sinner or not, I don't know. One thing I do know, I was blind, but now I see. So then the Pharisees got all mad at the man and decided to kick him out. But when Jesus had heard that they threw the man out, he went to go and find him. And when he did, Jesus asked him if he believed in him, the Son of Man. And the man replied, I don't know who he is, but show me him so I may believe. And verses 37 to 38 say, Jesus said, you have now seen him. In fact, he is the one speaking with you. Then the man said, Lord, I believe. And he worshiped him. Basically, Jesus, now that I see, now I'm a believer. But what Jesus was kind of doing with the man there was like taking an NPS survey or a net promoter score of the man's experience. And every company, every business, every organization wants a good, wants a great, wants a high NPS score, which is a fairly basic survey from 0 to 10, where people who rate your establishment 9 to 10 are considered promoters, meaning that not only do they really like you, but they don't want to just keep it to themselves. So they will share it via word of mouth or through online reviews and literally promote you for you. And then there's your 7 to 8ers who are kind of in the middle. They are called passives. They like you, but not enough to be talking about you. They like you, but they're not really going to bring in someone else. But then you have the dreaded 0 to 6 range, the range nobody wants to have a lot of, known as the detractors. These are your critics, the disparagers, the denigrators, and the haters. Basically, they ain't really feeling you like that. They ain't really with you like that. They don't really like you like that. But here's the bad part about the 0 to 6ers. Here's the bad part about the detractors. Not only do they not like you, but they are likely to start spreading the news to try and get other people to not like you too. Like the Pharisees were trying to do with Jesus. They were his detractors. But the blind man, on the other hand, he was the opposite. And he wasn't even just a passive 7 to 8. No, he went out and he told people about his experience. He told people about what he saw. He was a promoter of Jesus. He didn't care what the Pharisees said because Jesus had made a believer out of him. Jesus helped him see, and now he believed. Oh, what a good place of faith to be in the Lord, where you don't need nobody else's review, where you don't need to hear nobody else's account, where you don't need to hear nobody else's testimony because you have got your own, where you don't really care what nobody else says because you know what you've seen for yourself. So I don't know about you, but like the blind man, I am a promoter of Jesus Christ. I don't care what anybody else says because I know what I've seen. I know I've encountered amazing grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Blind, but now I see. So like the song says, let me tell you about my Jesus. He makes a way where there ain't no way, rises up from an empty grave. Ain't no sinner that he can't save. Let me tell you about my Jesus. His love is strong and his grace is free. And the good news is I know that he can do for you what he's done for me. Let me tell you about my Jesus, and let my Jesus change your life so that you too will be able to stand and say, now I'm a believer. Thanks for watching.
And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube.